Welcome, everybody. This is a program called the U.S. Job Search. My name is Ren Fritzky. Call me Ren. I'm one out of 4 career counselors on campus. And I mostly work in the CDC South office. There's a South office and a North office. And I wanted to do today's program in here today because I wanted to go through that office area here. Okay? That office is the North office. The glass built, the room, that's called the fishbowl because everybody can look at you like goldfish. That's where the employers and the interviewers wait for interviews. And all these little rooms on the side, a lot of them are interview rooms. This is where a lot of the employers come to do information sessions to introduce their organizations and companies and stuff like that. The South office is across the hall. That's where we have the counselors' rooms, we have programs, we have the library. That's where we will do like critique your resume and do different kinds of programs. So there's 2 offices. This is the North side. So hopefully we'll see you in this side of the building as well. Okay? So let's get started. Okay. Goals of the program. I just gave you the analogy that the U.S. job search is a totally different game with totally different rules. A lot of them is going to be similar, like soccer and basketball. You have 2 teams in trying to put a ball into a goal or a basket on your side, right? So that part's the same, but there's a lot of other things. One, you can't use your hands. One, you can't use your feet. If you are doing it the wrong way, you will not win. That's what I want to introduce you today. So to understand the United States culture that influences the job search tools and the process. Number 2, where to find these resources to help you with your U.S. job search. And things to remember. There's actually 4 sections in my presentation today. If there's any questions or concerns or requests you definitely want me to cover today, let me know now. Is there anything that you definitely need to hear today? I came to hear this, and I'll be very disappointed if I don't hear this today. Or I can't go home if I don't hear this answer. Any questions like that? I know there's things that I want to ask this. Come on, sign in if you can. Okay? Any questions? So everybody's going to like everything I say, and they're going to be all happy. Okay.
How many international students found a job after they graduated?
Good question. I have no idea. because the School of Management does not collect that information. It is not the CDC's responsibility to collect that information. So this year, we have started doing this thing called the Senior Survey. For graduating seniors, we are trying to get some data on how many students or how many percentages of the students that were looking for jobs actually got jobs or had jobs by the time they graduated. The number that we got so far, the response rate of all seniors was about 35 to 40%. Out of those students that were looking for full-time jobs, I think it was like 30-some to 40-some percent that actually had jobs the time they were graduating. Now, usually in other schools, that survey is done 6 months to a year out. Because, as I said before, a regular job search takes about 9 to 10 months for a student to find, apply, and accept a full-time job. If you're an international student, double or triple that time. Okay? So when you graduate, you might not have a position. You might get one month later, but you probably had already started that job search 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 months ago. So if you can sign it up. You're early. Come on in. Come on in. And if you just came, sign in, please. Have a seat over here. You sure? All right. So, good question. We would like to know. We are starting to collect that information, but we don't have that now. Any other questions?
How do you build up network?
How do you build up network? That's a whole section we have. Good point. Questions? Okay. And I have some warnings, okay? This is not a how-to program. It does say how to find a job in the U.S., yes, but there are certain things like how to network, how to write a resume, how to do an interview. We have programs for each of that because each of them could take 2, 3, 4 hours if we really wanted to. So those kind of how-to specifics, that's why I gave you this, because you could read about it and then you need to practice and you need somebody to look it over, etc., etc. Okay? Also, if you are an international student and you're thinking about working in the United States, you're probably going to have to apply to this thing called CPT, Curricular Practical Training. Usually it happens while you're a student. OPT after you graduate. Optional Practical Training. These are issues that the ISSS office deals with. That's the International Students and Scholar Services Office. Because that is a employment eligibility issue. We will help you, the CDC will help you to make you more marketable. But if you're eligible or not legally to work in the United States or not, we do not deal with that issue. That can be addressed at the ISSS office. They have a wonderful website as well. There's webinars on what you need to do, what kind of preparation you need to do to be able to be eligible for CPT and OPT. They also have weekly walk-in hours to ask employment-related questions if it's, 3 to 5 minutes long. It's Tuesday, 1:30 to 3:15 p.m. If you go on their website, all that information's there. But for those of you, especially master's students, and seniors, I did get some little handouts on CPT, OPT, and walk-in hours. So for those that are seniors or master students, you're welcome to take these. All the rest of you guys, go onto the website and get this information, okay? Because you guys are not quite desperate yet. Okay, second warning. This program is not intended to deny or change your values, okay? You all come from different cultures. You all have your values. I am not going to challenge those values. I'm not going to tell you what to be or what to be like or what not to do or whatever. I'm not here to deny that. I'm just going to teach you, these are the rules. If you want to play this game, this is what you have to do. You don't have to do it. And there's many people that are successful, not playing by the rules and doing their own thing, and that's great. But I'm telling you the general rules, okay? So don't think like I'm trying to make you all into Americans. That is not my point, okay? Also, I'm going to tell you a lot of things that nobody else is going to tell you to your face, because it's going to be discouraging, it's going to be disappointing, and it's going to be upsetting to all of you. As some of you know, I came to the United States 9 years ago. I was born and raised in Japan. I went to college in Japan. I worked for 6 years. Wanted to get a graduate degree. My mom is American. That helps with my English, of course. But I did come straight to graduate school. It was very hard. I was disappointed a lot. I learned everything I'm going to teach you here today the hard way. It took me about 1.5 to 2 years to really understand this. And I'm going to give it to you in an hour. So consider yourselves lucky. But I will tell you things that you don't want to hear, so be ready. But I'm not saying give it up. That's not what my message is. It's say understand what the reality is and still persevere. Some realities. The unemployment rate in the United States. Anybody know what that is? 10%. Good. But those are the numbers that are people that are U.S. citizens, that are legally working and are seeking jobs. Those that have already given up looking for a job are not counted in that statistic. It's probably about 20%. Okay, so have that in mind. 20% of Americans want work but don't have work. And for U.S. companies and for the U.S. government, if there is eligible American citizens or green card holders that can do the job, they are always going to hire the U.S. citizen over an international citizen. Always. Always. So, if you are going into a field that there are a lot of Americans applying, you're in steep competition, because it's not just new graduates. These are people that have been fired, that have been laid off, that can't find jobs, that are a whole lot more experienced than you. Okay? That's one reality, what I'm talking about. Okay, let's get into the how-to. How do people in the U.S. get jobs? And if anybody's hot, you can open that door in the back too. And how do employers find potential candidates? Okay, look at this. I want you to memorize this pyramid. Okay? Because this says it all. So, this is the typical employer. This is how employers prefer and usually choose how to hire and how to fill positions in the United States. For example, let's say there is a position open in our organization. How and where do employers go to? They first look in the organization. Is there anybody that wants a promotion? Is there anybody can do this job better than anybody else? They're first going to look from within. Okay? So, present employees. If they can't find this, they're going to find a combination. For example, past interns. Okay? So, we've already seen them work well. They already know our organization, and they already have half of their foot in the organization. So, let's find interns that can do the full-time job. So, they're always going to find from within first. Second, using proof. Computer programmers in here? There we go. Artists, writers, architects, anybody? Use proof. Portfolios, sample programming, codes. Show that you are good with past experience. Okay? Show past work proof. Okay? Having a website, having sample work with you, always a good idea. Because people get convinced, oh great, you've done that. We want somebody that can do that in our organization. Using proof. Third, using a best friend or colleague. Hey, so we're looking for somebody in our organization. Do you know anybody that can do this? Can you introduce me to anybody? Did you hire anybody that quit in your organization? Asking colleagues and friends because they trust their judgment. Right? That's how they try to get more information of potential candidates. Next. Okay, nobody knows. There's nobody in the organization. Okay, where are we going to look for? Trusted agencies. For example, professional organizations. Because we know professional organizations attract a lot of professionals. So they'll network. They have their own listservs. They have conferences. That's how they get to know and exchange information. Also, Binghamton University. That is a brand. We don't want any student. We want Binghamton students. So, anybody here on e-recruiting? All hands should go up. Okay? Binghamton University is a trusted agency. Okay? So, rather go to Yahoo Jobs or look at this resume that came on attachment on email, they're going to go on e-recruiting and find somebody from Binghamton. Okay? Or they're going to ask Binghamton alumni. That's a trusted agency. Now there's still nobody. Okay, what do we do? They might use an ad. Okay, the job postings that you see on e-recruiting or any other positions, that's when they're desperate. They can't find anybody from within. They can't find anybody from their references or their friends. They're desperate. They need to fill it in. That's when they go to ads. And a lot of times employers don't want to do this. Why? Why don't they want to do that? It's costly. Usually you have to pay a company or a website or a newspaper or whatever to put that ad up. Who wants to pay money to get somebody if you can get it for free? And you don't know how many people are going to apply to one position. You're going to get 2,000, 3,000 applicants. Who has the time to read all those applicants? And then lastly, they're going to read resumes. It takes time. It takes about 8 seconds for me, but still, when I have to go through like 300 resumes, it takes time. But this is how the typical job hunter looks for a job. Right? I've seen a few of you in COC. You have a resume? Yeah, you're going to go to the job and you're going to start meeting people. Awesome. But I've still heard a lot of people say they're going to make this resume perfect and they're going to send it to 300 employers. Good luck. Because that's the last thing employers are going to read. And I have numbers for those of you that are skeptical. I have success rates. Okay? If you just use a resume, for example, posting on a website, on wherever, Yahoo Jobs or Monster Jobs or whatever, and you send 200, blah, 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 the success rate of getting a job through that is about 0.3 to 0.5%. So you might hear from one employer, maybe if you send 200 resumes out. Okay? Now, if you go to like an agency they trust, for example, professional organizations, e-recruiting, success rate jumps to about 24 to 30%. That's 60 times more effective already. Okay? Because there's a brand name saying, this is a good student. We've had success at this school. Okay? Actually, this too. Network. If you apply with somebody introducing you or somebody recommends you, the success rate's about 60% to 65%. Meaning, if you talk with 10 people, you're probably going to get feedback from about 6. Do you see the number of effectiveness? Don't waste your time applying online. That's my message. Okay? You can do it. But if you combine all those, you see it gets closer and closer to 100%? Okay? So don't rely on just one method. But if you have to rely on one method, through people that you know. Now in here, I actually have two of our student workers in the CDC. Insu and Sylvia. How did you get that job?
Actually, I went to the dinner etiquette back in March, and I met Holly, which is the director.
Assistant director.
And I think she wrote the recommendation.
Yes, she did. So Sylvia paid $10 to attend this dinner to teach you professional etiquette. She sat down accidentally beside her assistant director. She talked, she introduced herself, she introduced what she's interested in, blah, blah, blah. When it came time for me, I said, I need people to help review resumes. Does anybody have any recommendations? I asked my colleagues. And Holly, which is the assistant director, which is also my supervisor, said, call Sylvia. Okay. Called her, interviewed her, hired her. Sylvia's surprised, like, I got an email suddenly. Great. Instant, how about you?
Last semester, I came to the COC, and Ray was reviewing my resume, and I talked with her about my interests, my plan for my future, and next day I got an email saying I have a position open for me in CDC North. And it's actually another job, student host, dealing with employers.
I remember NC because she came like 5 times in one semester. And I knew she was eager and she was good, and I taught her all about the resumes. I thought she would be a great candidate. So I said, are you interested? She said, yes. I said, come on board. Within. And colleagues. That's how you get to know. Yes. No. Like a counter, right? No. There isn't a function like that. You can give access to employers to check your resumes, but don't assume that employers are checking your resumes because they're not really searching. They're trying to protect the employees they have. They're trying their hardest not to fire anybody. But There are new areas, they need new staff, they need people to replace people that are retiring. If it's that kind of market, they might search, people in those positions. And in the recruiting, but besides that, they're probably not going to be checking. They will read if you apply most of the time, but again, it depends on how many people are applying. If it's one position and you have 2,000 applicants, it's really going to be hard for your resume to stand out unless it's a really good resume, and there's a reason for them to take your resume out. For example, they met you at the job fair, you asked great questions and you made an impression on them. Oh, I remember him. Wait a minute, I think I saw his name on the... Yeah, here's his resume. That's the personal connection that brings you up on the yes list and the high priority list. Any other questions? Good questions. Okay, part 2. Your job search methods and tools and where you can find resources to help you. Okay? Networking, number 1. Again, right? Success rate, 60 to 65%. This is the number 1 way of how Americans get jobs. So why not do it? If Americans are successful with it, why not you do it? Now, if you are an international student or if you're new to the area, you have a disadvantage of this, right? You already knew that before you came. You don't have a lot of classmates, you don't have a lot of family or friends. They're all back in your own country. That's how I started out as well. That's why you need to get out of your dorm rooms. You have to get out of your apartment. You have to get out of your library and start meeting people. And people, meaning anybody, start talking to them. Let them know you. Because when I first moved here, I knew nobody. And I was out of a job, and I was 7 months pregnant. I was pregnant back then, too. And the best person that helped me out was the person at the deli at my local supermarket. She was wonderful. She taught me where the daycare center was. She told me where the cleaner was. She told me where the best veterinarian, for my dog was. I mean, she was a wonderful resource. I got to know the area so well. Anybody. Let people know what you're interested, what you're looking, because you know what? When it comes down to it, people are really happy and glad when they can help somebody. Right? Everybody's happy. It's like, thank you so much for introducing me to that person. That's how I got this job. That's a great feeling. People want to help in that sense. So let people get to know you and let people like you. Okay? It really does come down to who you know. Use family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, teachers, people in your religious organizations, past employers, professors, anybody that you know. And also, alumni. This is a special connection that everybody in here has with Binghamton graduates. They're called alumni. Okay? There's a whole database of alumni that are willing to help you. They volunteer to be on this database. It's called the Alumni Career Network. You can access it from our website, cdc.binghamton.edu. That's our main website. Look under ACN, Alumni Career Network. Okay? And you can search alumni with their majors that they graduated in, their degrees they got, what area they're working in, job title, career field. If you want to contact these alumni, usually they provide an email address, phone number. If you don't know how to do it, come to Counselor on Call. We'll show you how. But I would really take a look. It's very impressive. You'll see a lot of alumni volunteered in this organization. Okay? Second way, marketing yourself. This might feel kind of uncomfortable to many of you. My first year in graduate school in the United States, this is what was going in my head. I'm smart. I'm talented. I'm eager. I can do the job. Why aren't employers coming to look for me? And I was mad. Like, why isn't anybody hiring me? I'm letting people know. Why don't they hire me? That's what I was thinking. I shouldn't have to tell people how good I am. But that's not how employers think, because they're busy doing their own thing, right? If you can help them fill the position that they want to with the least effort and the least cost, you're helping them. That's the kind of person you want to be. So, You have to be prepared to talk about that. In the United States, one of the big values is time. Time is money in the United States. When it says it starts at 2:30, we're starting at 2:30. When we say we're ending at 3:30, we're ending at 3:30. Because Americans don't like to waste time. They like efficiency. Okay? So, if you're going to talk to an employer, have all your selling points into a 1-minute commercial. We call this the elevator pitch, or elevator speech, because that's the time, you're going from the first floor to the 14th floor. That's how long a time you have to talk to this employer if you meet that person in the elevator. This is the type of speech you have to have ready for the job fair, because there's going to be lines and it's going to be noisy, and employers are going to have to meet a lot of people. Have a 30-second to 1-minute commercial of what your credentials are. Prepare work samples. You might want to have things that you can show employers. When I was doing a job search before I graduated grad school, I made little business cards on my little, Word document, I think, or Publisher. On the front, I had regular business information, like my name and my contact info, my email, my degree I'm going to get. But on the flip side, I had 5 bullet points on it. Top 5 skills that I wanted employers to know about. And if they were going to hire for me for those top 5 skills, I'd be happy. I gave that to everybody I met. I went to parties, I went to conferences, I went to meetings. Everybody I met. I think I gave out maybe 110, 120. Like 6 weeks later, I get a phone call. So there's this position, it's a college recruiter position. I think you'd be really good at it. Would you be interested? Yes. Yes, I'm interested. And that job was not posted yet. Nobody knew about that position. But I was working from within because I was already a colleague of that position. So when that position opened, like in 7 seconds, I sent my cover letter and my resume. Because I knew exactly what the position was like. I had time to, prepare and everything. Okay? That was my way of networking and giving people samples. Also, you can say, I'm great, I'm good, I'm talented, but professionals tend to trust other professionals. Your students. So, have your professors get to know you. Have your past employees employers get to know you. Your supervisors, your job supervisors, your internship supervisors, TAs, RAs. Have them get to know you. Staff, let them get to know you. So if you need a professional, speak to a professional, say, yeah, you need to hire her, she's really good, then that professional is going to believe that professional more than just your words. Okay, so start building those relationships. And those references, it's hard to get, because if somebody asks me to be a reference for them, that means I'm putting my name on it. Meaning it's stamped approved from Renfredsky. I'm not going to stamp approve anybody in anything. Right? You better be good. If I'm going to put my name on it, you better not embarrass me. That's the type of relationship you have to build, and it takes time to build that kind of trust. Right? Makes common sense. So, start building those relationships. Cover letter and resume. You might not know what this is. These are 2 documents that you're going to start needing to use when you're actually applying to the job. So this is actually pretty much the last step of the job search. Because you're going to be networking, you have to gain experience, all that kind of good stuff. Then that's all going to be on paper, and then you're trying to appeal to the employer. So, how to write your cover letter or resume, if you want it critiqued, all that kind of stuff. We already had a program. We'll have future programs. We also have handouts. If you look on this little sheet, there is a job search documents section, right? There's cover letters and resume. Those are the first 2 things on there. Check them out. If you write one, bring a printed out copy to Counselor on Call Hours. Okay, Counselor on Call Hours are on our calendar, on our website. Have it reviewed if you'd like. Or if you've never created a US-style resume or cover letter, we have a group resume review session next Monday. It is Monday, September 13th, 4:40 to 5:40 p.m. in this. No, we're probably going to change the room. I'm actually doing that program again. But we'll probably get a bigger room because we want tables. You're more than welcome to bring it there. Do a group resume review. If you want to individualize it, bring it to counsel on call. Okay? So I'm going to skip that part. Interviews. So you have a resume and a cover letter. You send it to an employer. You apply to an employer. A cover letter and a resume is not going to get you a job. Okay? So why write it? You're trying to pique the interest of the employer so you can get an interview. The point of a resume and a cover letter is to get the interview. So once you get an interview, then you get to communicate with the employer. Okay? And it's not employer interviewing you, it's you interviewing the employer as well. Think of it as a first date. I like date analogies. If you've been to my resume program, we're talking about love letters and this and that. Okay, the interview is, do you think we can work together? So you have to ask questions to each other, right? That's what the interview is. So there's different kinds of interviews. Usually there's a phone interview or a screening interview. They will have, say, 300 resumes. They narrow that down to 20 candidates. Okay? Then they'll get together like a committee. They'll search. They might call 6 to 7 top candidates. If they like them, then they'll call them into a face-to-face interview. So this is called a screening interview or phone interview usually. Sometimes they do it on Skype. I've heard that before. Sometimes interviews can go first, second, third, fourth interviews, depending on the organization. It might be group interviews. It might be individual. But you need to practice those answers. Okay? You also want to take advantage of that opportunity of an interview to let the employer get to know you. Again, quick reference, guys. Internship and job search. Effective interviewing. We have effective interviewing on there. That's a whole sheet of how to and tips on how to interview. Also, on the bottom of the internship and job search list, telephone interviewing. Some things that you have to be careful on the telephone because they can't see you. Especially if your first language is not English, or if you tend to have a very heavy accent. Be careful, because if the employer thinks, well, this job is going to use a lot of phone conversations or email conversations, and if your English is not up to par, that the clients might make a mistake or misunderstanding, they're not comfortable in hiring you. So practice your English every chance you have. Okay? You probably don't hear an accent in my English. I used to have one. I used to have an accent. I practiced. I took classes with presentations. I did courses like this. I asked questions. I made a lot of friends. I practiced. There's not too much to completely erase your accent. That's okay. But you have to make the employer comfortable enough to hire you. Okay? And there are 3 things that every employer wants to know. And I'm going to give you the answer. The 3 questions employers want to know. Number 1, can you do the job? Right? You don't want to hire somebody that can't do the job. So, can you do the job? Interviews, resumes, cover letters. This is what they want to see proof of. So how can you prove that you can do the job? How can you prove that you can do the job? Come on. Yes. Past similar experience and that you were good at it and you were successful. Absolutely. Who is trying to go into a career that you need a degree? Like a bachelor's degree required? Probably most of you are looking for a job that requires a bachelor's degree, right? That's why you're in college, right? Degrees. Licenses, maybe? Any people going into accounting? Law? Medicine? Dentistry? You need a license. Counseling. You need to go to graduate school. You have to be trained. You can't just say, oh, I'm a counselor. No, you can't do that. Okay? second one. Will you do the job, and will you do it to the best of your knowledge and ability? Meaning, maybe you have the credentials. Maybe you can do the job. But are you? Will you do it to the best of your abilities? Meaning, maybe I can do it, but I don't want to do it. You could be lazy, right? You could be sick. You can't be there. It's not what you really want to do. You're qualified to do it. Like a lot of my friends when I was growing up, Ren, you know 2 languages. You should be a translator. I said, hell no. I don't want to translate people's, blah, 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 blah. They can translate what I say, but I don't want to translate. Boring. No. Just because I can do it doesn't mean I will do it. So they want proof that you're interested, that you're passionate, that you're going to do it the best. You're not going to be fraudulent. You're not going to be lazy. They want you to do it right, and they want you to do it well. Okay? So they want proof that you can do it, but also that you will do it. The third is, do you fit? This is very important in the United States. For those of you that have master's degrees, if you're applying to very entry-level positions that a bachelor holder can do, you probably are not a good fit. You're overqualified. Undergraduates, if you're looking for an internship that's, usually taken by master's students and you don't have any experience, you're probably underqualified. You can't do the job. Bad fit. Okay? I had a student. She was a math major. She was brilliant girl. And she said, I don't know what to do with a math major. I said, I understand. Okay, so what would you be interested in doing? I said, anything related to math. Like, a little more specific. Like, I'm very analytical, good with numbers. It's like, I have the perfect career for you. It's like, really? Yes. What is it? Professional gambler. A lot of calculations, a lot of analytical skills, right? Good memory. And she's like, oh, no. I said, why? You said you want a job that you use your math skills. And you said anything. I said, no, but I don't want to. Why? I said, I don't like gambling. She doesn't like gambling. Why? Because it's really not working. Okay. There's a big chance of winning a lot of money. No. Why? I want some job security. Okay. Gambler, not a good choice. Do you see what I'm saying? She can do it. She might be able to do it, but it's a bad fit. It doesn't match her values. Does it make sense? So, you want to make sure that the organization or the industry that you're going into actually is a good fit for your skills, your interests, and your values. Because if that matches, then the employer is going to be, I think you'll be a good fit. I think the people that are already working in an organization is going to be able to work with you. I think they're going to like you. Because when I'm hiring somebody, I think of the people that are already in my office. And like, that person, personality is going to clash. Or they have similar skills. We don't need 2 people. We need somebody that can do this skill. It's not a good match. So just because you're very talented or very skilled doesn't mean you're going to get the job if it doesn't fit. Does that make sense? And that's what employers are going to look for. So you're going to get a lot of no's. No, we're not hiring international students. No, we don't need a master's level students. No. You might not know what the reason why the no is, so don't take it personally. But it's always a good idea, why no? Because sometimes that might be able to be negotiated. Maybe no now, but maybe yes next year, right? That's why we encourage, students to go to the job fair and start networking, meeting people. Because when Sylvia came to the etiquette dinner, we weren't going to hire anybody. But then I got pregnant. Like, well, we need somebody to do resume reviews. And it sounded, and I remembered her. And I remember NC. Okay? You never know. Number 5 on the tools and tips of getting a job. Follow up. You have to help the employer remember you. So send thank you notes. Follow up and let them know what you've been up to. If you have a new degree, a new experience, let them know. Okay? And follow up, as we say, fosters relationship. You let them know new things about you. You can have a chance to gather more new information. And you can have the chance to reinforce the information. Meaning, I'm really interested in working with students. I'm really interested in working at the CDC. I want to work with employers. If you tell me that over and over and over like Insa did, and she wasn't looking for a job, but she told me that she was interested, I remembered that. I remembered her name. And there's 14,000 students. I remembered her name. That's what follow-up is about. She wasn't following up with me, but she made a point to come to COC to get more help. And she asked good questions. That's why I remembered. Okay? And the cycle continues. Okay? You meet people, you get to know them, you follow up, thank you, get more information, blah, 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 blah. Friends, colleagues, supervisors, network. Okay? Your people resource expands. That means you're going to have more cheerleaders to help you get a job. And one of those cheerleaders might be the hiring manager. Or might be your future supervisor. Okay? Make sense? Are you understanding? That's what I want you to do. So, there's not a lot of note-taking. I need you to understand. Okay? So, resources, again, job search strategies, how to find a job, it's on there. Okay? All this is called quick reference guides. They're usually like 1 to 5, 6, 7 page documents. They're all PDFs. You can download it from your room or your computer. E-recruiting, I'm assuming everybody knows what that is. It's a database of employers, jobs and internships. Everybody has access. If you haven't been on it, get on it. You can access it from our CDC website. The CDC website is cdc.binghamton.edu, right? We have a practice interview or mock interview program coming up. This is in November. Sign-ups are going to start in mid-October. If you have an interview coming up, if you just want to practice interviewing, whether it be for internships, jobs, scholarships, graduate school, law school, med school, doesn't matter. Interview is an interview. You need to practice. If you like to do that, you can sign up. Okay? That's in November. Networking events. This is information sessions. There's etiquette programs. There's alumni coming on campus. There's family weekend coming up in October. Lots of opportunities to meet people. We also have a lot of programs coming up in the CDC. All this schedule is on our main website. You can check what's coming up. And also, if you are still kind of confused or need more information regarding employability and employment eligibility questions, you need to check the ISSS website. It's also linked from our CDC website because all those questions go to ISSS. So we have a link there as well. Okay? Now, the not so fun part, but the part that you need to hear and the very important part that nobody else is going to tell you. I have a good friend that's an attorney, and he helps students get like visas and stuff. And he's introduced me to a lot of his tips and tricks as well. But why majority of U.S. companies or firms, why they don't sponsor international students? This is the why not reason. Okay, it's company policy. We don't hire foreign nationals. Period. You can't really argue with that. It's a value. Okay? For example, if they were making American flags, they might want to hire Americans. Okay, if you say so. It might be just policy. Second one, why bother? When there's so many American candidates, why bother hiring an international student? Why? You need to convince them that they need to. right? That means you need to market yourself. This is the value I can add that an American applicant can't. For example, let's say it's a trading company. They're working with China. Nobody in their organization speaks Chinese. Chinese student comes along. I understand both languages. That itself makes you more marketable than the regular American student, because the American student can't do what you can, right? Very simple example, but that's how they decide. Some employers have never hired any foreign nationals. They're scared or they're intimidated. Unnecessary, because most of the responsibility lies on you. The company really doesn't have to do anything really different with hiring an American, but they might be intimidated. There might be no room for training. If you don't have a lot of internship experience, or if you have language issues, or you were trained in doing something but under a different corporate policy or a different system or whatever, like law. You have a law degree from France. Okay, the law is different in the United States. We don't have time to train you. That's extra money for the employer. We don't have that kind of time or money. Okay? If there are same, equivalent, or even lower job candidates that are U.S. citizens or green card holders, the American firm has to hire the American. That's the law. It's probably the same in your country. If you are from Korea, then Korean citizens and students are going to get first priority. Simple as that. If you're from Israel, Israeli students, Israeli citizens are going to get first priority. Same thing. A little different if you're Canadian or Mexican, because we have different kind of treaties with those countries. Maybe a little easier, but still. U.S. citizens always are going to get priority if the level of training and skill is similar. They might not be really looking for high skills. Like a lot of you master's students, you're getting very high skills, very specialized skills. That's why you can't get a job at McDonald's, even if you wanted to, because you don't need a lot of high skills, right? That's why it's high school students flipping burgers. Restrictions. For example, I had a friend from France. He was a PhD student. He was studying acoustics. Acoustics is the study of sound. Okay, he was a very handsome guy. That's why I remember him. I love his story. And he was a cellist, wonderful singer, and he studied music. And it's awesome. But he couldn't get a job in the U.S. because what he was studying about acoustics could be used for nuclear submarines. Meaning most of the employers that would hire him was related to the U.S. military. You can't have foreign nationals, right? If it has anything to do with Homeland Security or the military, okay, it's going to be very, very, very difficult for a foreign national to get that job. Okay? Some research positions that you have no access to that kind of information, possible, but I had an Iranian roommate. She was a geologist. She was studying earthquakes, but her study could be used to find oil. And she was Iranian. Oil, Iranian, America, PhD, not a good match. She had a very, very hard time finding a job in the U.S. that had nothing to do with an oil company, because that's what America runs on, right? America does not run on Dunkin' Donuts. It runs on oil, right? So it was very hard for her. And I saw her, because I lived with her for like a year and a half. And her husband, he was a PhD in like atomic chemical, something like that. He can make bombs! And he's married to a dog crazy. So there's certain combinations that's not really, really easy to find jobs, but That's how they were. They were a wonderful couple. They're the sweetest people. But on paper, Iranian geologist, Iranian like nuclear chemist, doesn't look good on paper. But if somebody knew you personally, then they might say, no, you don't understand. Yes, he's Iranian, but you have to meet this person. And if you have people that cheer you and refer you, that might make a difference, right? That's why you need to meet people. So, who does hire? And this is what you want to remember, right? Who does hire? So, profiles of typical sponsoring. I'm talking about employers that might hire you for a longer term, like sponsoring you for a visa. And I want to be kind of sensitive to your time. But these are some of the characteristics. Those organizations that cannot attract U.S. citizens or green card holders. Maybe it's a very, very specific field. For example, I was a college recruiter, as I said. I gave out all the business cards and I got hired, right? I was recruiting for a department called mining engineering. Mining engineering mines coal and oil and natural gas and gold and salt and all these kind of good stuff. Well, 40, 50, 60 years ago in the United States, they were saying, we're not going to be using coal by the year 2010. We're not going to need any mining engineers. So people stopped going to mining degrees. And they stopped getting those degrees. Well, those people that were hired 40, 50, 60 years ago are 60, 70, 80 years old now. And they're retiring. What are we doing right now? We're drilling for oil and gas and gold and diamonds and this and that. And we are desperate need of mining engineers. The mining engineer department was 90% international students. Because these students were coming from Bolivia. They were coming from Kenya. They were coming from China. That's where the things that are in the ground are. Those are the students. And if you're looking to hire a mining engineer in, say, 5-10 years, America's going to hire foreign nationals because there are no Americans in that field. There's no competition. Because they're all retiring or dying off or whatever. You need to have a unique combination of skills. So if you are, say, accounting student, I know there's a lot of them in here. Everybody's doing the same program. You have a couple hundred colleagues getting the same degree from the same school. How are you special? You all have to take the exam, right? How are you unique? What is that value added? How are you unique? What do you add as your candidacy? Think about that. Accounting plus a language. Accounting plus management. Accounting plus public relations. Whatever it is that you're good at and interested in. That's what is going to differentiate you. Because you're not just buying, the toothbrush, but you can get the toothbrush and the toothpaste. Value added. Bad example. It's located in an unattractive work location. Everybody wants to work in San Francisco, in New York City, in Boston. Who wants to work in Binghamton? Come on, who wants to work in Binghamton? Because you're going to hurt his feelings. I have an alumni that works in Binghamton. But that might be one of the reasons he has a job in Binghamton. Right? It's a small size or mid-sized company. Okay? Because the big brand name companies, all the Americans go to. Why go there if you're competing against Americans? It's going to be really, really, really hard. More than it should be. Okay? No 401k, that's usually the retirement plan that a company puts in. Pension, again, same thing. Disability benefits. So this is extra money that the company has to pay. If they're small, sometimes they don't have this. tuition reimbursement, helping for college kind of stuff. If they don't have extra things to offer a candidate, an American citizen might not want that. Like, I'm not going to work at an organization that doesn't have health insurance coverage. Not going to happen, right? Because giving birth to a baby is going to cost me like $3,000. Damn is right. If I didn't have insurance, can't do it, right? So those kind of companies Americans are going to flock to. But if they don't, and if you're young and healthy, maybe you can pay out of pocket. It'll be less competitive. Okay? So this is more of the encouragement part. Okay? Little things to remember. Get experience. Get an internship, volunteer, part-time job, whatever it is. Gain experience because employers want proof. Employers want proof of success. That you can do the job, that you will do the job, and that you're a good fit because you've done similar things. In-class projects are okay. I need you to remember, a good GPA is a minimum. That is not the requirement. You want a 3.0 or higher. But if you have a 3.0 or higher, you're good. Okay? Get experience. Because you could have a 4.0 and no experience, you are not getting a job. If you do, I'll treat you to dinner. Think like an employer. Okay? This is very important. When you write a resume, when you talk to the employer, don't go say, I'll do anything. I'm really eager. I want experience. I want a job. Don't go begging for a job. Turn it around. This is how I can help you. I think you were looking, for this kind of position or these kind of skills. I have those skills. I've done that before. I think I can contribute in this way. Try to go sell from your skills. Because now you're thinking like an employer. This is how I can benefit you. This is how I can cut costs. This is how I can make the work go faster. So you'll be more competitive. That's the attitude you want to go with. Market yourself like a product or a service. Again, a lot of students are very uncomfortable about talking their successes. If you did it, and if you can still do it, it's not bragging. You're letting the employer know what you're capable of doing. Build and use your network. Ask for help. Once you're hired, once you're experienced, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, young little students like you guys are going to be coming ask for you as an alumni. Could you help me? Could you teach me how you do it? Could you give me advice? You're going to be on the side of helping somebody else. So ask for help now. This is your time to ask for help. And there's nothing ashamed to be. There's nothing embarrassing. You ask for help now. It goes around. If you ask for help, you're going to be able to help somebody in the future. And stay positive. It's going to be very discouraging and it's going to be very hard, but the employer that's right in front of you meeting you for the first time, it's the first time you meet with them. Don't start complaining, I've been applying to 200 jobs and nobody wants to hire me. Like, I don't want to either. There's a negative attitude like that. I don't want to either. I don't want to hear you complain. I need somebody that's energetic, that's ready to go. Right? So be positive. Experience, when we're talking about that, it doesn't matter if it's paid or unpaid. If you have only paid jobs on your resume, include those that were unpaid as well. Volunteering, club activities, class projects, leadership, all that goes on a resume. If it increased your knowledge or ability or skill, it's good to go. Think like an employer. Ask these questions. Why are you here? At the job fair, why are you talking to me? What can you do for us? What kind of person are you? How are you different from others? Are you worth my money? Or can I afford you? These are the type of questions that comes in employers' mind when they look at you. If you are a good job candidate. If they even consider you. Market yourself like a product or service. Okay? Think about what is the value you're going to add and let the employer know. You don't want to be a cost for the employer. Okay? Build your network. Anybody you know, let them help you. And just because you met them once doesn't mean they're going to remember you. You have to keep. You have to maintain. You have to grow and nurture that relationship, because it's all about human relationships. You met me once. Will I write a recommendation letter for you? No. I don't know you. Right? But if we had a chance to work together, if you came ask for help, blah, 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 got to know you, okay, I'm feeling comfortable or more comfortable, maybe. Right? And stay positive. Anything that's positive, something is better than negative anything. And everybody started from where you were. You have to start somewhere. It might be daunting, but you have to start somewhere. So start now. Okay? So, this is my last advice. Look at organizations and locations where you as citizens are not looking. Meaning, it's not going to be a popular and comfortable place that has ethnic food stores. Okay? Look at organizations medium and small size as well. Okay? You might have never heard of this company. Look it up. Be flexible with your choices. Finance majors in here? Computer majors in here? Every business has to do with money and has to use computers. Right? Think about it. Practice your English as much as possible. Not all employers are interested in international students, so don't be disappointed. Don't take it personally. Just keep on looking and targeting those employers that are interested and where you can make a difference and where you can grow, and target market. Don't fish like net and try to get all the little fish. No, you go. We target, focus with employers, because you're going to be wasting your time if you don't. Okay? And let me introduce you my first special guest. Thanks for waiting. This is Guneshwar Krishnamurthy. He's an alumni. I'm going to stand over here so you're not in the face. He is a master's a graduate 2 years ago from industrial engineering, and he works locally as a sourcing engineer. You're going to have to explain that a little more.
Right.
And he got a new haircut. Nice and handsome. You shaved too. Oh my goodness. Right. And he's been working locally. So if there's any questions that you would like to ask a past alumni, I said it's going to be a Q&A session. A lot of students are going to want to ask me anything. Nothing too personal, I guess. But you can say no if you don't want to answer. I might chime in, but any questions for Guneshwar? You may want to ask.
Sure.
I don't have any work experience or earlier previous internship experience. So will that be a barrier for me to have a new internship opportunity?
I won't say it's a barrier, but it's definitely an advantage if you have some work experience. But an internship is, especially now with the economy, internship is a great way to put one foot into the door and start working. Give a little background about myself. I graduated in fall 2008, and I started working December 2008 at a local manufacturing company, and they're headquartered in Wisconsin.
You were an intern there, weren't you? Weren't you an intern there? It was a different internship.
And I'm working as a sourcing engineer. I'm in supply chain. I'm a sourcing analyst. A lot of what I do is purchasing, engineering related work. And I had the opportunity to work with a company in upstate New York while I was studying. I was funded. Most of you know what that is. So I worked with them for almost 2 years, and a lot of that experience actually helped me get the job that I'm doing. I started applying sometime in January or February of 2008. That's when I came to the CDC. Started drafting my resume, and I had prior work experience before I did come for my master's, but it is not related to this field. I have an electronics bachelor's, and sometime in April or May the economy tanked, right? And a lot of people are not getting jobs, no phone calls, no interviews. people obviously stressed. What are you going to do? Don't get a job. And I made the at that time brave, but the foolish attempt of graduating in August, when a lot of people would have put off graduating and decided to graduate the semester later. And I met my current employer actually at a career fair. So I know a lot of people have a negative perception about the career fair. I did too, because there's long queues. You're going to wait for 40 minutes to see an employer, and he's going to go up to me, he's going to give you a card saying go online and apply. It's frustrating. Not a lot of employers do that. Some do. Some of them give you an opportunity to talk to them, and my employer did. I spoke to him and told him what I did, and he was pretty interested in the work I was doing, and he said, okay, I'll keep you in mind and we'll be in touch. And I was pretty persistent in actually getting in touch with the employer. That's how it is, and it's fortunate the employer was in Binghamton, so I could go up to the facility and talk to them, and they interviewed me the first round. And the second round, there were more people involved. HR was involved, and they were talking about this, talking about my work. It was a long interview, 3 to 4 hours, and I didn't speak about the H1 on my work visa. I didn't talk about it. And I had a third round of interviews, and they said, we want to hire you. And I said, there's a small matter for H1 that you need to do for me. And they said, I don't know if you want to do this, because they haven't done a H1 before. They didn't know what it was. It's very intimidating. There's a lot of paperwork involved. It's very intimidating for us to see all the rules and all the paperwork involved. And they said, we need to think about this. And the VP at that time who hired me, he said, okay, send me a quick note on what it is and what needs to be done. And I told him what it is. And here's the thing, like, if anybody asks you that question, I think Ren's spoken about it, try to be the question is, do you need a work visa? Answer truthfully, but you can say something positive like, well, I have authorization to work for 12 months on your OPT, and beyond that there might be some paperwork involved. So whatever it is, be truthful about it and be prepared to document whatever you're saying.
Like on e-recruiting, sometimes when you're applying to a job through e-recruiting, are you authorized to work in the U.S.? There's that question. The answer is yes. It's 12 months, but you are authorized to work in the U.S., so that's a yes answer.
Yeah. So, and I mean, if you go to a lot of employer sites nowadays, you'll see a big sign saying, we don't do work visas or no work visa authorizations. But I know there are a lot of companies who put that, but still hire. Obviously not the federal government or the defense contractors and so on, but other companies they do hire H1, do the process, but it generally involves either knowing someone, so you can get your foot into the door, at least talk to the hiring manager. I mean, you could be creative. There are lots of ways to do it. Actually, a friend of mine recently got hired. He's had several years of work experience, but he got hired by a plane manufacturer in the south, and they make a lot of jets for the defense industry. And immediate perception is, of course, there's no, they're not going to hire H1s and so forth, but they do have a commercial aircraft division, and he used to be a supplier. He used to work for a supplier of one of those companies, and he'd been trying for years to get in. They kept saying, no, we want to do H1. And then the guy who, one of their chief guys over there, 70 years old, he died. Okay, so
the guy that was saying no.
Well, no, the guy who was position was applying to, right?
Okay.
So his department was like, oh my God, the only guy who knew how to do all this. We need someone to do it. And my friend knew a lot of the process of the company because he was a supplier. And 6 months later, he's working. Except now that he walks around the plant, he's got a big foreign national tag on his shirt, but. They did his H1 and he's doing pretty well. So let me see what else. I was just scribbling some notes. Be prepared to spend a lot of time applying a lot of time, especially now that the economy is worse off than it was. Spend a lot of time networking, getting to know people. A lot of us, even me at my time, were like, how am I going to get a job if I don't know anyone, if we don't have a reference, if we don't know anyone in the company? The unfortunate reality is at times that yes, knowing someone definitely helps, but it's not to say that you cannot get a job because you don't know anyone. Just be creative and look at how you can apply, and more importantly, sell yourself. That's very important. Like when I was talking about the elevator speech, when you go to the career fair, you've got 60 seconds with a guy who's standing on his feet for 6 hours, right, talking to so many students, and you better have your speech ready and sell yourself in those 60 seconds and tell him who you are, what your background is, what you can do for the company. If there's maybe something interesting that you read in the news about the company, you could bring it up and say, hey, I heard about this product and I think that I could contribute in some way. Think of something, sell yourself and leave an impression. That's important.
Good impression.
A good impression.
So that means dress nicely, professionally. If you want to do a little makeup, that's okay. You don't want your hair looking like this, right? You don't want to smell like your lunch, right? Firm handshake. We don't want any wimpy handshakes.
Also, what you want to do is keep in touch all the time with the immigration regulations, which are pretty dynamic. I think it's very complex and it's very confusing, so you want to keep in touch with it all the time through the ISSS and so on. The other thing about a H1 is, the economy is already in the dumps, and its perception is it's even more difficult to get a job. The employer needs to sponsor a H1, which is a bit true. But the question that you need to ask yourself is, how do you sell yourself? How do you sell in such a way that the employer is going to say, okay, I'll deal with all this paperwork because I want this guy. You have to present the image as in, he's got to have it in his mind like, oh, H1, that's no problem. I want this guy because of his skills. So that, that's got to come across strongly, whether in an interview or, the career fair or anywhere else.
Did you have a question? No.
When you do get to the stage about the H1, they're going to ask you, if the employer doesn't know much about it, the employer is going to ask you, what is H1? Or what is this work visa authorization thing? What do I need to do? Be prepared to give a clear, concise answer as to what it is, prepare, if it's in an email, prepare a short email, quickly saying what the H1 is, what needs to be done, and so forth. So make sure you have that ready. Be clear. Don't, it is confusing, but don't come off as, you mumble it and he doesn't understand it, becomes more confusing to him, and then he forgets about the whole H1 thing.
And not everybody's going to need an H1 visa. H1 visa is after you use up your OPT work and you still want to continue to work in the United States. It's a working visa. And it's going to be different for everybody depending on what country you come in and what level you are. So we are not legal professionals, but if when you're talking about full-time employment, that's a topic that a lot of employers are concerned about.
Yeah, another thing that you can look at is, if you call an employer, you talk to an employer and say, no, I totally know our policy is that we will not, hire foreign nationals or H1s. You could ask them, the next question is, hey, what about back in my home country? Do you guys think you could help me contact someone there and I could work for you guys there? That's another option. So don't discount that option. Keep your options open.
That's really good advice. We actually at the CDC we have these employer directories of American companies that have offices in foreign countries. Also, foreign countries who have their offices or branches in the United States as well. That's a very, very clever way of trying to get in and get some work experience because there's that connection to your home country.
Right.
I have a question. Like for freshmen, if we go to a career fair, and we'll talk about elevator speech. So what is different from a freshman speech to a graduate or a senior speech? Because we haven't had any internship or much experience. So what should we write in there?
Good question. Anybody want to answer that? So if you don't have specific work experience, internship experience, what should you talk about? And I don't think that's a freshman issue. I think there's sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and master students that don't have a lot of work experience. What are you going to do?
Should we talk about our high school experience and high school?
That's all you have. Right? That's what was before undergrad. In the last resume workshop, we talked about 3 skills. Job-specific skills, transferable skills, and personality. Job-related, job-specific skills is what you learn in class. That's what you need, specifically licenses related to the specific job performance. But you still have to have skills like communication skills or computer skills. It doesn't matter what field you're in. You need to have them. Do you have them? How did you demonstrate that? Give them an example. Good question.
I have a question. What about those that have professional certifications or working experience?
It helps to have a professional certification, especially to the target industry you're applying in. Definitely, don't go with the perception that, I have no experience and I'm done for. I have a lot of friends who did not have any experience and did get jobs and got, started on the OPT and eventually got hired on each one. So it's, again, I'm going to repeat this, it's sell yourself, it's, sell your strengths, that's important. The other thing that, like Glenn and I were talking about a few weeks ago was when you, even the career fair, or even if you go to interview with an employer, it's a little different from interviewing back home, and probably Ren's already talked about it or will talk about it. Back in Asia we tend to be a little more courteous, reserved, show a lot of deference, which is good. Courtesy and deference is good, but when it comes to interview, again, you need to sell yourself. You need to not be shy about your accomplishments. If you saved your previous company $500,000, for example, you saved your company $500,000. So don't be shy to talk about your accomplishments. Be courteous, be deferent, but not so much so like we tend to be in Asia, that the person feels like, is this guy for real? Like, why? He might feel uncomfortable with that, so you might want to practice that with the mock interviews, maybe. So I had the advantage of living in several other countries before I came to the States, even outside Asia, so it helped me a little when I was interviewing with employers. Also doing the interviews or even at work, no personal questions unless you're really close to your colleague or you feel you're at a level where you can ask him or her personal questions like, are you married? Do you have children? No, none of those questions, because it's
are you available?
Are you available? It may be normal for us back in Asia to ask those questions. Not if you're available, but are you married? Do you have kids?
How old are you?
And it's not inquisitiveness. You're just trying to be friendly and you want to get to know the person. So don't do that here until
it's illegal.
It's illegal. It's also illegal by law to do it. So don't do that, especially during the interview, or any weird questions like, if you want to be an animal, what kind of animal do you want to be? None of those questions.
The employer might ask you that.
Actually, having a sense of humor is, I think,
that's big.
Is big in the States. It's considered a bit of an asset in the States.
Great question. And the question was, what if you don't have certification and stuff? Now, I heard if I don't have enough value for the employer, what am I supposed to do? Well, they might not hire you and pay you. You might be able to volunteer.
No, actually, my question was that I actually have a professional certification myself, but I have no working experience because...
Right. So professional certification might mean something, but there might be a lack of experience. Some people are the opposite, right? So again, when we say gain experience, they might not trust you. They say, I could do this. Well, prove it to me first. That's why we have internships for academic credit as well. Because some employers want to see you. They want to test drive you first before they pay. Questions?
So if I get a reference from like my previous supervisor on my internship, like how should I show this to the employer? Like do I put them in the resume or?
Good question. If the employer asks for a reference, or if you want to show a reference, how do you show it to an employer? Usually, if you're going for a for-profit kind of organization and they ask for a reference, that's not a letter. It's information of your references. Usually it's 3 to 5. You want professional references, meaning professors, past supervisors, not family. Okay? You want the person's name, title, contact information like phone, email. I like to include relationship with you. I would create a separate reference sheet with your name and contact information and the 3 people's contact information separate from your resume. And if they ask you, that's what you submit. Or they might ask you when you apply, you could include it in the email or whatever. But it's usually toward the end when they have a short list, like 3 candidates, and they've interviewed you and they like you, then they'll usually call a reference. So until the end, they usually don't need it. But make sure if you're going to ask somebody to be your reference, to update them that you're giving their information out to companies and employers. Because one day the employer's going to call them and it's like, I wonder, what do you think about so and so? I'm like, what? Who's this? What? I don't know you. What? And that's not going to give a good impression. So when you ask a reference, like a professor, could I use you for a reference? 1. Are you comfortable to give me a positive reference? Because they say, oh no, do not hire that person. I've done that. I said, sure, I'll be your reference. They said, do not hire this person. Because, what? I'm being honest. This person didn't do their job, was always late, lying to me, sloppy work ethic. No, don't hire. There's such thing as a negative reference. So make sure that you let the people know if they can give you a positive reference and update them. I'm applying to here. These are the employers that I gave your reference to. These are the types of jobs. If you can highlight these kind of skills, that'll be great. Thank you so much. Make sure you thank your references as well. Okay?
Should I prefer paid internships over unpaid?
Repeat that again?
Should I prefer paid internships over unpaid?
Which should you prefer? Are you asking, which should I like, chocolate or vanilla?
I'm trying to ask you, are both type of internships considered my interest?
From an employer's perspective, free is better always.
No. If I have done an internship which was unpaid, so how is that so?
How would you see it if you were an employer? If you saw a candidate that had a paid internship and an unpaid internship, how would you see that if you were an employer?
Well, I would see which one you were willing to work with and I have.
Right. That's right.
No, I was more curious to know, should I wait to get more paid internships or should I go ahead with the part-time unpaid?
Wait for what?
Paid internship.
Paid internship is great, but if you can't get paid internship, unpaid internship is a lot better than no internship. Right?
I'm majoring in management now, but should I get experience that is not related to management, or
like what?
I'm not sure because I don't really know specific things about management or accounting, but I think there are not many internships related to management or accounting because they need some specific or specialized or professional skills.
Right.
So what kind of internship can they do as a management student?
Depends on what you want to do. Again, what are you good at? What are you interested in and passionate about? What fits your level right now? If you don't know what you want to do, research. We have a whole library on management and business section. What do you mean by management? And there's so many things you can manage. Manage people, manage money, manage insurance, manage what? Risks, manage inventory. What are you managing? Time, a lot of things. And what do you want to add? Depends on what you're good at.
Can I get my reference later this year and use it after I graduate?
Good question. I think as long as you are in contact with that reference, and if there's any new information you update and get permission from that reference, I think it's good. I'm pretty doubtful you're going to need a reference letter. But if you are graduating and the person wrote a letter or something, you can, but the newer and the more specific, the better their letter. Old letters are kind of old.
Because my supervisor changed his job to work from, so I'm like, can I still use my old reference letter?
As long as the contact information on that reference is going to be able to reach that person. Does that make sense? So like a letter or, it might have the old organization name on it, that's okay. But if the employer wants contact, they're usually going to contact by email or phone. So you better have the updated email or phone.
Oh, another thing from an international student's perspective is, always be punctual.
Yes, we've talked about that.
Whether it's an interview or a meeting or whatever it is, if you don't have that habit, start to practice it. If you're going to meet a friend at 8:30, start meeting him at 8:30, practice it. Because if you're not punctual, it means that you have no respect for the other person's time. It means that he can wait forever and wait for you to come. So that's disrespectful.
Yep. And with that note, it is 4:03. That clock is a little fast. But if anybody needs to go, I did promise that we'll be ending at 4. If you want to stay a little longer, we can keep this room for a little longer. I see another question up here. But thank you all for coming. If you did not sign in when you came in, please do so before you leave. And if there's any seniors or master's students that need the OPT CPD documents, it's up here. And again, if there's any questions, you can stay for a little longer. We'll start asking down if you have questions. If you have questions, stay down. Bye. Excellent.
Do I need to HR with her
Probably. Like for an interview nowadays, it's normal to have 2 to 3 rounds of interviews. Maybe for an internship, we'll have 1 round. It may not be so intense, but the job must